Look at that. Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Cooler Master TD300 Mesh Micro-ATX Tower. I did receive this case from Cooler Master, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this case or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Take a look at the retail box and packaging, available in two colors, black or white. We have the black version here. On the side, we have our specs for this particular case, and one of the features I'm most excited about is that polygonal mesh on the front, giving us that advanced dust filtration. But really, it's not about the dust for me, it's about how it looks. And we have two pre-installed Sickleflow fans on the case. They walk you through some of the key features right here in multiple languages. But we have 220mm ARGB Sickleflow fans that already come pre-installed. Those are going to be on that front panel right there. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature featuring everything that's included in the hardware kit. We also have charts and diagrams walking us through all the different configurations we have for this particular case. Very detailed and thorough. Next, we have the hardware kit right here with zip ties. We have our hard drive brackets. We have additional screws and standoffs. We even have a little nice socket adapter for a Phillips head screwdriver. All the grommets and things that we would need. And lastly, we have the case itself. Let's go ahead, let's look at this in more detail. All right, so here's a look at the case. It's small and compact. You may notice too, we have our tempered glass side panel right here, so a nice window to look into your build. But the centerpiece, in my opinion, is gonna be that front panel right here with our polygonal design and mesh. I've always liked how that looks on all of Cooler Master's cases when they incorporate this element. And we'll have our RGB fans glowing through here. Small, compact form factor, yet still big enough to do what you want with your build and different cooling options. Now we're going to look at each individual side of the case. Looking at the top, we have a removable screen right here, just magnetized. Pops right on or off for easy access. Plenty of room to mount fans, radiators, things like that at the top. You'll notice we have a reset switch right here. We have our headphone jack, mic jack, power button that will illuminate two USB 3.0 ports. And then we have a little indicator light here for hard drives with a little disc icon. Next, we're looking at the back side right here. 4 screws to remove, 2 on each side for each side panel. 4 expansion slots, plenty of ventilation along the back. Our motherboard cutout for our I/O. And our power supply bracket down here at the bottom. Here's a look at the very bottom with our 4 feet. We have a removable screen dust cover right there, easy cleaning, additional ventilation for your power supply fan. On this side, you'll notice we have the handle here to pull to remove the front panel. Now we're looking at the front panel with the Cooler Master logo and branding, our mesh with all of our polygons. Really nice, cool pattern there. Now let's go ahead, we'll pull off the panel here. Removing the cover reveals our 2 Sickleflow fans that are included. They're both 120mm. We have room for additional fans here if you wanted to go a little bit larger. Maybe you want 2 140s, things like that. We also have our exposed I/O right there. And I'll show you the inside of the panel in case you're interested to see that. It just snaps right back on in place. Now we're looking at the back side panel right here, just a solid piece of black metal. Now we'll take the 2 screws off to look at the back side. The back panel just slides right off, revealing our cable management, and we have an included fan and RGB hub right here. This supports 2 additional fans, 3 additional RGB devices, our reset switch to configure, to control and change everything right here with the button. And I always love having that configured that way. But there's our 2 included fans and our 2 included fans ARGB connectors right there. Additional spots, looks like for 2 2.5-inch drives. Our hard drive bay down here for 2 3.5-inch drives. Power supply room. Plenty of options to route the cables however we want. And here's our main side panel with our tempered glass. It is fragile. We have our black border around it. Now let's take it off. This panel also just slides right off, revealing plenty of room on the inside for our build. You have 2 different motherboard sizes supported, Micro-ATX and Mini-ATX. Here's the front side for our cable management. Some options up top, down to the side, and then throughout the bottom right there. I'll try to tip that up a little bit so you'll be able to see the inside. Looks like we have some additional options to mount some more 2.5-inch drives. You may notice there's no exhaust fan included, so keep that in mind. Take a peek at the top right there, and we'll look at the side, revealing our two Sickleflow 120 fans. But for a small and compact size, there's still plenty of room to do what you need with your build. Now let's go ahead and get our PC built. All right, we got our PC built. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so inside the build, we're using a Gigabyte. This is the B550i Aorus Pro motherboard for AMD with the 5600G for our CPU. We also have the RTX 3050 right here. 32 gigabytes of Lexar DDR4 RAM. And the centerpiece of this build is definitely our Cooler Master Hyper 212 Halo Black tower air cooler there. We have room for another fan on the back side if we wanted, or to use an exhaust fan here. Up to you and how you want to configure this depending on your build and your needs. It's running very quiet with this fan and cooler. I'm liking that a lot. Looks really nice. Here's a look at the inside of the front panel with the two included ARGB fans. Again, those are the Sickleflow 120s. Now we're peeking at it from the front side here, our illuminated power button. There's the Sickleflow 120s again. Love the mesh design on the front panel. Now we're looking at the very back here with our I/O for our motherboard. Down at the bottom, we got our GPU and power supply here. In taking a look at the back side, you'll notice our cable management right here. You can spend as much time as you want or as little time as you want. It's really up to you. We haven't even utilized the hard drive bays or any SSD slots or anything like that. We also have some additional room here if you want to add some more fans or RGB. And with the size of motherboard that we used, you'll notice the space here. We probably could have routed all of our cables up and through there. Obviously, we still have the grommet as well. We could come through there, but we just chose to go right there since we had that luxury. With the lights off, I wanted to show you the different RGB options that we have. Currently, it's configured by default to use the reset switch and the button on the front panel to control your RGB lights. If you want to use software to control them, just connect it directly to the proper motherboard header. In our case, this is just controlling the fan. So our motherboard has RGB and so does our RAM. So we'd still have to use software from Gigabyte to control that. Or again, we could plug everything in to the motherboard and use the software to control the fans as well. But I like having a little reset switch here. So let's take a look at everything from the front first. And you'll see the cooler fan peeking through here as we change and tweak everything. Kind of trippy looking at it in the preview screen there with the other fan from the cooler up top. But nice, bright RGB. That looks really good. We got the Cooler Master purple there. Back to some of our RGB. And let's look at it from the side. So again, you might notice in here, the RAM won't change. And those little orange dots in the back, that's from our motherboard's built-in RGB. So that won't change either. But we'll cycle through them one more time. So the cooler looks great with that fan. Makes me want to add a couple more fans to this case. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, it is running very, very quiet. I can actually hear the PC behind me. That one feels so loud compared to this one right here with all the included fans. Just very, very quiet and smooth. But there's the RGB light. It looks great coming through the front mesh as well as our cooler in the back. You can get really creative with how you want to configure everything. All right, it's time to put this case to the test. First, we're going to establish a baseline here at idle speeds with both panels removed. We're showing our CPU temps ranging from basically 22 to 25 degrees Celsius. Our motherboard temps ranging from 19 to 32 degrees Celsius. And then our M.2 drives at 29 degrees Celsius, and our GPU is currently at 32 degrees Celsius. Now we're going to put the panels back on and see if any of those idle temps change. Not showing any noticeable difference in temperature, so we have all of our current values right here. Still within that 22, 23 degrees Celsius up to 25, 26 for the CPU. So maybe we added 1 degree Celsius there. For the motherboard, still at 19 to 31. Our drive actually somehow went down in temp, so now we're at 28 degrees Celsius. Our GPU is still hovering right at around 31, 32 degrees Celsius. So not really a noticeable difference there with the panels on or off. You may see different mileage depending on your setup configuration, maybe even the ambient air temperature in your room. But the good news is there we have our baseline established. Now let's go ahead, let's put this under a full load. All right, the temps are in. So for our CPU test, we're having it under full load using Cinebench R23, and we've hit a max temp of 66 degrees Celsius. We're hovering right around 65 degrees Celsius, give or take. But I want to point out that with this case, we only have 2 intake fans. We just have natural ventilation up at the top for hot air to rise out, and we don't even have a dedicated or active exhaust fan. So with the configuration here, a lot of this cooling is going to fall on obviously the CPU cooler itself, but since this is just an air cooler, the case is helping us do a nice job bringing in cool, fresh air, and still with the power of the fan on the cooler, still being able to exhaust most of that out the back. So it's going from the fan through the cooler itself, and I can feel the warm air coming out of the back of the case. This is without an exhaust fan. So keep in mind, depending on your configuration, you'll probably see even better results in temps than we're getting right here. If you want to use maybe an AIO, you want to put a dedicated exhaust fan, maybe 2 fans on the cooler, you get the idea there. But under full load with the 5600G from AMD and our nice Cooler Master cooler, the case, everything working in unison, is keeping our temps well within range. You'll also notice the motherboard hasn't changed too much either, anywhere between our 19 up to around 34, 35 degrees Celsius. Our drive is still at 27, and our GPU currently isn't under any load right now. That's at 29 degrees Celsius. But we're going to change that. Using FurMark, we have the GPU under full load right now, and we've peaked at 59 degrees Celsius. We're hovering under that full 100% load between 58 and 59 degrees. You just want to see it under around 80 degrees Celsius, and you're in good shape under a full load. So we have no issues there. I do want to point out, I notice a little bit more warm air coming out the top right here, and I can attribute that, I believe, to the airflow of the fans from the GPU coming in and spinning from the bottom, pushing out a little bit more air up top. But that's what we're rocking with and working with right here, well within range. Everything's working as you would expect. So with our particular build, it's safe to say the case isn't going to lead to any sort of thermal throttling or anything along those lines. Now it's time for my favorite test, what I call the smoke test here. So I'll use the smoke machine. We're going to inject some smoke into the front panel, so you'll be able to watch it move around the case and see where it exhausts out the back and the top. So let's go ahead, let's fire it up. Look at that. So all of that nice, cool, fresh air is coming in, as you're seeing, and then it's getting sucked right away into our CPU cooler, and then it's exhausting out the back as well as the top. And now, just so you can see the nice visualization of how powerful it is from those front fans, we're gonna put a little bit of smoke out here. Maybe off to the side a little. You'll get a feel for how it's able to suck all of that right in. I love the visual indicator there, being able to see it with the airflow. And you'll notice we have some coming out the backside too. We still have our GPU under full load, so any air that's getting in through there is moving around the case as well. So one more time. We'll try to go low too. There you go. Here are my final thoughts after building in the Cooler Master TD300 mesh case. I overall had a great experience, super simple, straightforward, and there is plenty of room given its smaller and more compact nature. I like that we have the removable top. If you ever get in a pinch, need to make a cable connection, that will help as well in your build process. The last thing I want to say in regards to what I like about it is the design. That is my own personal opinion. Your preference may be different. but I think that polygonal mesh front panel really sets the tone and aesthetic for this build, and I really enjoy looking at it. Now, some of the things I want to see improved are as follows. The first one and biggest thing for me is that we don't have 3 fans. Yes, I'm happy we have 2 ARGB fans. They're the nice, quiet Sickleflow fans, but they don't include a 3rd fan, and I think that's quite a bummer, especially on the back here. You're going to want to have an exhaust fan if you can swing it. Other than that, I think for me, just aesthetically, on this side right here with our tempered glass, I wish that the panel maybe extended down and further, or we had some sort of maybe cutout down here for the power supply, something along those lines to just kind of get rid of this boring like 5th or 4th of this side of the case is just a straight, you know, metal black panel. So I'd like to see maybe something different aesthetically here, or extending the window, things like that. But it's super simple and easy to build in. Just go ahead, make sure you get the correct motherboard size. It's going to be Micro-ATX or Mini-ATX, and you'll be all set and ready to go.